Very good afternoon, everyone. Now, first of all, I would like to thank the developer for inviting myself here this afternoon. I also have one of my colleagues here, Terence, who's also here with me this afternoon. Now, I'm sure all of you must have been excited by whatever Ken has just shared with you. I myself got a little bit excited when I was listening to him earlier on. Yeah. I also want to give a little bit of perspective from the practitioner's point of view, because our firm, we do a lot of conveyancing, right? In fact, we have two different offices. We have a Toa Payoh office where we do all the mass market, and I myself, I sit in my Paragon office where we do all the high-end transactions. Yeah, I give you like, I just want to give you a perspective of what's currently happening right now. Actually, I do share with what he has actually shared with everybody earlier on. I think we do see a very clear trend. And I also can feel it in my bones that I think market is starting to turn. But like him also, I got to give disclaimer. I may not be 100% right. But I think the difference is, I think I've been in the market far longer than him. I've actually gone through 2 cycles. I've seen the 1990 cycle that went all the way up to 97. I also saw the second cycle that actually started in 04 and went all the way up to 2010. Right? It's been a long while since the market starting to move, but I can share with you since last year, we have a lot of overseas buyers coming into Singapore. Now, he mentioned the Chinese, he mentioned the Indonesians and all that, but I think what he didn't mention, and I want to share with you, is the most significant buyers, as far as I'm concerned, are the Hong Kong-based buyers. Okay? Hong Kong buyers. Okay? Because I can tell you, in all my 27 years of practice, the Hong Kong buyers are the sharpest in the market. I give you an example back in 2004. Okay, remember Sale at Marina? You know, Sale at Marina. Can you believe Sale at Marina, when they first launched, they couldn't sell in Singapore, right? Such a hot development, right? Back then, they had to go to Hong Kong to actually do a road show down there. Now, back then, I actually traveled with them. One weekend, when they couldn't sell in Singapore, they went to Hong Kong one weekend, they sold 40 units. Just over one weekend. Okay? Back then, you know how much Sale at Marina was? Anybody can remember back then? How much? 1,000? No. It was only about 800 plus per square foot, and it couldn't sell in Singapore. One weekend in Hong Kong, they sold 40 over units, and it was just snapping up. But of course, the rest was history, right? Sale at Marina at its peak was how much? 3,000 plus, right? Almost 4,000, right? But do you know when they came in to buy end of 04, do you know when did they exit? All of them exited 07 before the crash. Every single one of them. Now, that's how sharp they are, I can tell you, because they are all speculators back in Hong Kong, right? You know how speculative the Hong Kong market is. So last year was interesting because I haven't seen my Hong Kong clients for a long time. Last year, they started coming back, right? So when they came back, I was actually asking them, say, I haven't seen you guys for a long time. Why are you guys back in the market? Do you know high-end today, Hong Kong, what kind of prices they are selling? And make a guess. Above 10,000 per square foot. Okay, this is easily 3 times our price if you are saying that the ceiling is at 3,000. Do you know Hong Kong stamp duty at the highest is how many percent right now? 30%. Our ABSD for foreigner is only 15 plus 3 is only 18%. They are already at 30%. That's why the Hong Kong buyers are all coming in. Actually, I'm not supposed to be doing his talk, but I just thought I'd just warm up you guys a little bit. Okay, so but just in case you guys are interested, are very excited, raring to go, going to snap a unit, but you have a problem right now because you currently have a unit, right? If you're going to buy a second one, you're going to be hit with ABSD, right? Okay, so I'm going to share with you how you can do decoupling and save the ABSD. Okay, so I come back to my talk right now. Okay, so just a quick introduction. The firm has been around since 94. I already explained to you we have actually 3 different offices. Okay. Now, so what I'm going to be sharing with you today is decoupling. Now, decoupling simply this. Currently, let's say for those of you who are married, both of you have a property, right? Right. So as a couple, you have a property. But how you can actually do a decoupling is how can you take out one name, you free up the other name so that the other person, when they go and buy another property at this development, for example, you end up paying only treated as first property and you pay 3%. Okay, I'm going to share with you how it can be done. So imagine, hypothetically, okay, those amongst you right now, Mr. Stan, for example, currently owns a property, okay, and basically you want to buy a second unit down here. So in order for, let's say, for example, the whole objective here is to free up the husband, right? So that the husband can go and buy this second unit. How can you do it? So in order to take out the husband's name, you actually either have to do it by way of gift or do it by way of part sale, correct? Two person, right? A and B, right? You want to take out A's name, right? So basically A has to give up his share. So in order for A to give up his share, is either A gives his shares to B or A sells his share to B. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you the difference. But before I go on, I just want to let you know, decoupling can only be done if you're holding a private property. Decoupling cannot be done for HDB. They stop it. Yeah. Okay, so if you want to do by way of gift, okay, before you do by way of gift, I want to just explain to you there are certain things that you need to take note of. So A and B owns a property, A wants to give to B. If you want to do by way of gift, firstly, the property must be unencumbered. What do you mean unencumbered? Means there must be no loan. Because if the property is still mortgaged to the bank, you cannot give it away, right? You still owe the bank money, how can you give away 50% of the share? So you want to do by way of gift, take note, it must be unencumbered. The minute you tell him, if you tell me it's still mortgaged, then I can say, I can't say, then I'll tell you, you can't do by way of gift, you have to do by way of part sale, which I'll explain in the next slide. Okay, so secondly, we also have to determine your manner of holding, right? So for example, if you are tenancy in common, right, 60-40, then if A is holding 60, then you are selling away 60, you're giving away 60% share, okay? But if it's joint tenancy, then it's considered 50-50. So A give away to B, you're giving away 50% share, okay? Now, one thing you have to remember, if you decide to do by way of gift, you have to be aware of the fact that when you give away your share in a property, this property that you have, basically the next 5 years commercially is worthless. Why do I say that? For example, today, if you have this couple, A and B, A decide to give away the 50% to B, right? Assuming that there's no loan and all that. Why I say the next 5 years, B will have problems selling the property or B will have problem going to the bank to take a loan is because of this provision in the bankruptcy law that says, if A today gives away his property and if A is made a bankrupt in the next 5 years, this gift in the eyes of the law is useless. They can claim back the gift. So because of this 5-year relation period, you do by way of gift, you must be aware. Next 5 years, forget about selling because no buyer will buy. Because by the time the buyer checks with his lawyer point out this risk, he will not buy. Next 5 years, you can forget about going to the bank and say, I mortgage to the bank, I want to take out an equity loan. That cannot happen. So while gift is simpler in the sense whereby you don't need to actually have flow of funds, right? I give away there's no money changing hands, right? But the disadvantage is, of course, you have this issue that you need to think about. Okay, so be very aware if you want to do by way of gift. Now, if you give away the property, can you save on stamp duty in this transaction? No. Actually, a lot of people under the mistaken notion say, if I give away my share of the property to my daughter, for example, because it's a gift, no stamp duty. No, not true. As far as IRAS is concerned, even if you give away, they tell you stamp duty is still payable based on the valuation of the property, the market value of the property. So, in other words, you do by way of gift, there's no advantage in terms of stamp duty saving. You will still have to pay stamp duty. Okay? No ABSD, yeah. So in this case, there's no ABSD. Dodi may be liable for ABSD if you are giving it to someone else. For example, A and B holding the property, right? A, instead of giving to B, A may want to decide to give it to C, right? But when A gives it to C, for example, C is already owning one property, right? So by the time C receives this, even though he is not buying, he will still be liable for ABSD. Okay, so you need to be careful who you want to give to. Now, grantor may be liable to pay SSD. Grantor will be the one who's actually giving away the property. So for example, why? Maybe in this case, A actually acquired the property actually less than 3 years ago. Today he wants to give away. You are well aware, right? There's a 3-year seller stamp duty rule, right? So even though this is not a sale, this is a gift, you are still affected by SSD. So in short, what I'm just trying to tell you is, if you want to do a decoupling, 2 ways to do it. One way is by way of gift, but don't go away thinking by way of gift is very simple, don't have to worry, just straight away give. No, you have to think of all these things. But moral of the story is, it's not very complicated, so long as you have a good lawyer handling it for you, right? I'm sure we will be able to help you if you need our help, okay? Any questions on gift before I move on to the next slide? No, okay. Okay, so if you can't do by way of gift because the property is still mortgaged to the bank, then what you need to do, then no choice, you have to do by way of sale, right? So in this case, instead of A giving to B, A sells to B, right? So how does A sell to B? Of course, the lawyer will draw up a sale and purchase agreement whereby we determine what's the market value of the property, right? Then based on 50% of the value of the property, you sell away 50% of the property, right? So again, potentially the buyer who's acquiring may be liable for ABSD if he has got more than one property. Seller may be liable for SSD if in case he has only bought the property less than 3 years ago. Of course, you have to factor in the legal fees. You also have to bear in mind, because this case, the property is mortgaged to the bank, then in this case, you have to do refinancing. Okay, but the most important thing that you need to be aware of in a part sale transaction is the fact that you need to show flow of fund. What do I mean? Example, your property today is worth 2 million, right? You still owe the bank 1.2 million, right? So basically, 800,000 cash equity, right? Now, so back to the point whereby you say you're going to sell away 50%. 2 million property, 50% is how much? 1 million, right? So basically, at 1 million, apart from the fact that you need to do a refinancing, the cash difference is 800,000. 800,000 means today 50% of 800,000 is how much? So you need to show that you actually pay 400,000 to the other party. So you need actual cash flow of fund together with a refinancing. So the problem here for some clients is, if you don't have that liquidity down there, you may have problem doing a part sale, right? Because you cannot be doing a part sale between, even though you say it's between husband and wife, you cannot go about saying that, oh, no need of husband and wife, even if we call it a sale, no need to change show flow of funds. No, it doesn't work that way. Because the minute you call it a sale, but there's no money changing hand, it becomes a what? It becomes a gift disguised as a sale, right? Yeah, so just be aware. Okay, good question. Lady here asks, can you declare the price to lower? For example, if the property is actually worth 2 million, can you declare that it's only 1.5? I think the government's smarter than that. The law says what? The law says contract price or market value, whichever is higher. So you can even declare 500,000 for all you want. But as far as they're concerned, if the valuation is 2 million, you still pay stamp duty based on 2 million. Yeah. Okay, we have another very smart client here. So we say cash flow, right? You need to show cash flow 400,000, right? So if you don't have 400,000, can you just use 50,000 and recycle 8 times? Well, I mean, technically, you are not supposed to, but you don't get caught, nobody is going to know. Yeah? But not that I'm encouraging you to do it. Because if nothing happens, well and good, nobody is going to raise any issue. But the minute, if let's say, down the road, if one of the party becomes bankrupt, that's where the official assignee will step in, he will scrutinize all the transactions. Yeah. Any other questions before I go on? Okay. So, this is a classic decoupling exercise. This couple, husband and wife, they have own property A. So basically, they want to decouple, right? Husband wants to basically sell 50% to the wife, right? In this case, how much is the stamp duty that the wife pay? 3%, based on half the value of the property. So within this transaction, there's no ABSD itself, okay? Second scenario, this is a case whereby the couple has two properties, right? Property A, the wife is already holding the property in her name alone. Second property belongs to husband and wife, right? The same wife, of course. In this case, basically, husband wants to sell the wife. Sell to the wife. So, yes. Done, okay. So husband wants to sell to the wife. Okay, how much stamp duty? Now, in this case, you have ABSD on the 50%. So it all depends whether the parties, they have how many properties at the point in time when we do the transaction. Must be thinking of selling my wife. Good idea. Okay, scenario 3. Husband and wife bought the property in 2017. Now you want to do a decoupling. Okay, because they bought in 2017, not only you have to basically pay stamp duty on the purchase, there's also seller stamp duty payable. Okay, on the purchase itself, in this case, there's no ABSD. Okay, but seller stamp duty is payable in this case. Yeah. Okay. So now that you're all experts in decoupling, right? So maybe later on, the agents behind going to do such a good job. Some of you may even decide, okay, I'm going to go ahead and buy. But then some of you may also have this problem, I need to do my decoupling. So how long will the decoupling exercise take before I can buy the property? Good news is this, come and see us on Monday. Tuesday, you can come back and book the unit really. Yeah, 1 day. No, you know why? Because when you do a decoupling, you don't need to complete the entire decoupling exercise. The law only requires the buyer to exercise on the option. No need to complete on a transaction. So typically what we normally do, come Monday, what we'll do is let's say assuming that we're going to do a part sale, Monday we just drop a sale and purchase agreement between the buyer and seller. On the spot, the buyer exercises the option. Tuesday you come back, you can issue option. Right? Conditional upon this part sale eventually complete. You only have a problem if you fail to complete down the road. But between the husband and wife, what are the odds of the deal not completing, right? So I think it's almost a foregone conclusion. So actually, every other week we have decoupling exercises like this and all that. So a lot of people keep thinking, oh, I got to wait 3 months before I can buy. No need. Monday, see us. Tuesday, you can buy. Any questions? Okay. So the schedule on the right is just a typical case if you buy something under construction. Okay. So booking fee and all that, I don't think I really need to go into that. But if it's resale, again, same thing. The part on the right here is just a procedure and all that. But long and short, whether you want to go and buy something completed under construction, bottom line, 1 day we can actually finish the decoupling exercise. Okay, any questions? Anyone? Okay, if not, any one of you who needs our help for decoupling, Terence is here. I think he will be around. You can actually look for him after the talk if you need our help. Okay, if you have no other questions, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.